Today I'm going to be showing you how to build a redstone shop for Minecraft 1.18. Now this redstone machine is for Java edition only, so in Bedrock edition this machine won't work because quasi connectivity doesn't work in Bedrock edition. This redstone shop is one wide and tileable, similar to one of my old redstone shops which I made, which is kind of rubbish right now. Like my old redstone shop is trash compared to this. This is much more compact and does way more as well. So this shop allows you to set a certain price to any item in this machine. So you can set like 5 netherite ingots or 17 diamonds, which will be the price of the items. It will also give the player a set amount of items, so if someone wants to buy 25 powdered snow buckets for whatever reason, then they can do. Now if you want to buy 275 dispensers for 17 diamonds, which is really cheap, like dispensers are horrible to craft, like this person, whoever owns this shop, is gonna make tons and tons of diamonds. So I'm just saying, I'm gonna be their top customer if they're gonna be selling dispensers this cheap. So before I showcase the redstone and how the machine works, I'm just going to do a little showcase of using the machine. So this machine, it takes a bit of time for the items to go inside these barrels. But this machine works with pretty much any item, so stackable, unstackable. Unless it's a currency, you can't really use stackable currencies. If your currency is netherite leggings, then you can't really work with that, as it's used as an item filter. But it works with pretty much any other currency, so netherite, diamonds, gold even, works with all that sort of stuff. But now with the items that you're getting, that can be unstackable. So for example, I've got a netherite pickaxe and I've got a shulker. They're both unstackable and it works perfectly fine. And also this powdered snow bucket. So now I'm going to show you how this machine works. So I've got 16 diamonds. Now if I get my 16 diamonds and plop them inside this barrel, now as soon as the items have left, the machine will start working. So now if you put too many items inside, you won't get extra items. There won't be like a refund system. It's a bit like a vending machine. So now it does take time for your items to start entering, but already, as you can see, I've already got my shulker box of calcite. For smaller quantities of items, it's much quicker. For higher quantities, so like a stack of golden carrots, it takes much longer. Even for 275 dispensers, it takes ages. So you can just use shulker boxes if you're doing like bulk systems. So if you're selling like 2 shulker boxes of dirt for like 2 diamonds, this machine's quite useful for that. So now I've also done it with a full set of netherite tools. So this requires a little bit of ordering because you have to order all your tools. So if I get my 53 diamonds, so now we place the 53 diamonds inside the barrel. Now it takes time for the diamonds to process. Now while we're waiting, I can also show you it with the powdered snow. So we have 5 netherite ingots. So if we get 5 of them. So now as you can see inside here, we've got a full set of netherite tools. So now that's one of the reasons why this system is so useful, because if you want to sell sets of netherite tools or sets of netherite armor or just anything like that, you can easily do that without using shulker boxes. Let's see if our powdered snow is entering. Ah yes, we've got all our powdered snow. We've got all 25 buckets of it. So now here is the redstone for this machine. So it's pretty compact. I compacted it as much as I could. I don't think I'm the best at compacting really. I understand that some people who look at this will think, oh, this is not compact at all. And to those people, I'd say, I don't care. But the machine performs the function, which is the important part. So now before I explain how this machine works, I'm going to go through the process of me designing this machine, just to show you sort of how I designed it, and to give you an insight into how designing machines actually works. So now we're going to start off really far away to the idea. So the idea was to make a one-wide tileable machine that allows you to input a certain price, and also have an output that outputs a certain amount of items. So here's my first sort of concept of it. This doesn't actually work at all because, as you can see over here, this observer can detect this hopper being powered. So then I moved on to this design. So now we've got some honey and slime in place, and good thing about honey is, without honey, this machine wouldn't really be possible to make at this sort of size, because honey doesn't stick to slime, which is so useful for this machine. Now this machine is kind of unreliable, because sometimes in this barrel here, we'll get an extra item appearing. We don't want to give the other server members extra items. That's just wasteful. You're pretty much just wasting good items. So I just scrapped this one and move on to the next design. So now before I moved on to actually designing the next one, which is one wide and tileable, I came up with the concept of how this system should actually work. So this is not actually one wide tileable, but this is just a concept of what it should look like. It's much more quicker and easier just to do it like this to start off with, and then move on to making it one wide and tileable. So what I've done is I've designed the actual system itself, and then after that I made it one wide and tileable and put it on top. And this system works pretty much perfectly. Now there's one issue, which is this slime here. So this little feather is annoying. So if we have this one wide and tileable, as I'll show you over here, do. So then I implemented it onto this 1 by Tileable machine, and this is just the same system as over there. So I just implemented it onto this machine, but the one issue with this is when I was testing it to see if it worked 1 wide and Tileable, so if I put another machine next to it, nothing would have any effect, so none of the redstone would interfere with each other. I tested that, and I'll show you what the outcome was. So now we've got the same redstone system. So we replaced the slime next to this piston with honey, as we need to do that so it doesn't stick. But the one issue we have is if I power this piston, so it works perfectly right now, but if I unpower, as you can see, it moves this piston back. Now you would have seen that this piston stuck to this honey, but normally when the machine's running, that wouldn't happen because these will both be extending at the same time, and you can't move a piston that has been extended. So this system will not work at all. So I had to rethink the system, and I came up with this. So this system works perfectly. The only difference now is that it uses observers, and luckily the machine still works with observers there, so there's no issues with delay or anything, and now this system properly works. Now to get to the final outcome of the machine, I need to explain a issue that I had with the machine. So sometimes, in the process of doing a purchase, when the items were entering into the barrel, sometimes if you put some diamonds in, so if someone naughty was going to destroy the machine or try and break it, and put diamonds in while items were entering into this barrel, the machine will break and give 4 times the items. So you'd essentially be able to get double the items you'd normally get, which is really not good at all. That kind of defeats the point of it being a reliable shop. So what I've done is I've added this system with the observer. So this observer detects when this is powered. So throughout the whole stage of the items being dropped into being put into the barrel, this system will not allow diamonds to enter through the shop. So this stops the shop from breaking completely. So now I'm going to go on to how this machine actually works. So first we're going to go through putting diamonds inside the barrel. So the diamonds enter through into the barrel, so you can't actually see the barrel, so I'll break this. The barrel in here, this will be where you put your diamonds in to make a purchase. The diamonds will enter, go through these hoppers. We've got composters on top of these hoppers to reduce lag, because this is probably primarily going to be built on a server. You can also replace this block with a furnace as well, if you want to. If you're having a lot of issues with lag, you can do that as well, but that's not necessary. Now you'll have an item filter, so this will make sure that you're using netherite or diamonds in your purchase. So this stops you from being able to purchase items with other items other than the item specified. Now the diamonds and netherite will enter into this chest. Now I haven't made a trash system. Now I had a few issues with doing that because there's no way of detecting the hoppers unless I made the machine bigger. Now I'm going to be making a redesign in the future which will have the refund system and all that sort of stuff, but for now it's not necessary. If a person puts too many items in, then that's their problem. They put too little items in, not my problem. So this is a bit like a vending machine where they don't actually give you change. That's pretty much what this machine is. While the item sorter's working, we'll get an output from this repeater. This repeater's on 2 ticks, and that allows it to stay on while this is all flashing. Now this will unpower this redstone torch, which will also unpower this hopper, and this will power this redstone torch, which will power this hopper. This will mean that items can go through this hopper, so it'll be a bit like a hopper clock, and what will happen is if the amount of items that have been specified has been paid, all the items will exit out of this hopper, and this comparator will detect it, and this sticky piston will unpower, causing this slime to move back, and then for this observer to move back as well. And then as soon as the items go back into this hopper, this piston will turn on and retract, and this will power this block which powers this piston. This piston does a similar thing to this, so where it starts a redstone clock. Now this will all get powered, which will also power this system, which stops any more diamonds entering into the shop. Now this will stay on throughout the whole process of items being put inside the barrel. So now when there's 0 items inside this hopper, this will unpower, causing a redstone pulse going up, and this will cause the piston to pull the block back and cause the items to go back into this hopper here. Now this will also cause these composters to push into these comparators, and this will also cause the observers to be pushed across, which will power this once, and will power this rail here. Now this rail is all alternated, so that none of these are all powered at the same time or anything like that. That could cause issues with the shop system. So now what's happening is this block will be powered. This is quasi-powering these pistons, which will push a block down, and this will allow this repeater pulse to go through the block and into these redstone torches. Now when that will turn off these redstone torches, this will pull back these observers, and now as soon as the items have exited out of this hopper, this will all turn off, and this will cause this redstone torch to also turn off, and will cause this observer to cause this piston to push the observer away, which will cause these blocks to retract upwards. I'm not too sure if that was easy to understand or anything like that. I understand that not everyone knows redstone as well as other people, so I just hope that made sense in a way. So now just some extra bits. So the restocking system are these chests, and we've got some comparators here. Now these will detect if there's items inside. So if there's no items inside, these lamps will turn off. This will tell you if an item is out of stock. So now the world download and also schematic is in the description below, so that you're able to check out the machine, try it out, and see what you think of it. If you don't want to build it via the tutorial, you can also use the schematic to build it in your server or on the survival world, even though I don't see why you build it on the survival world. Now some people prefer to use schematics, so now I'm going to move on to the tutorial. So if you don't want to follow a tutorial or prefer to use a world download or schematic, they are both in the description below. You can download them and use them instead of the tutorial. If you prefer not to do that sort of stuff, then you can carry on watching the tutorial and I'll be able to show you how to build the machine. So now the item list. For these machines is in the description below and also in these chests as well. So this item list is for if you're building 6 machines. So I'll be showing you how to build 2 of them. But if you want to know the item list for like building 6 of them, similar to the setup I've got over here, then it's there. If you're only building 2, similar to what I'll be doing in this tutorial, the item list for those is here as well, and also in the description. So now let's start on this tutorial. So first we're going to start off with a block. This is going to be our block, which will be next to our barrels. So we'll get a temporary block on top of these blocks, and we'll put a barrel there and also a barrel here. Then we'll be placing a barrel on top of these 2 barrels, a bit like this, and it's the same system as that over there. This will be where we put our items, so our diamonds, and this will be where we collect our items. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get our blocks, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can break these blocks and put hoppers across this, and so we'll be collecting our items. Now we can also do this on the other side too, so just place some hoppers in place, then put a comparator on top of these hoppers, a block, and then some composters in place. Then place some blocks underneath these blocks, and you can break these blocks, and then you can put some comparators facing in this direction, so they're facing away from the hoppers. And then we can put some blocks downwards, and then some blocks down here, and then some blocks in the place next to these other blocks. Some blocks next to these blocks, and some blocks underneath. You can break the blocks in the middle, put a repeater on either side, and then some redstone torches in place. Then get some redstone dust and put it here so we have like an item filter. Now underneath the hoppers, which are 1 hopper away from these comparators, so underneath these hoppers we place some barrels, and then we get some hoppers and place them into these barrels. Then on the furthest barrel away we put a block down and then another block. Then we put some hoppers facing into these blocks, a bit like this, and then we break these blocks. Now we're going to be placing in a double chest to collect all the items. So just put it like this, in this formation. Now you can make this storage bigger if you have a really big shop. Now on this side of the item sorter, we're going to be placing a block, and then a block underneath, and then you can break these blocks. Put 2 repeaters, both on 2 ticks, then place a block into these repeaters, put some redstone torches down, and then put some blocks on top of these redstone torches, and then some more redstone torches, and then fill this also in with a block. Now put some comparators on top of these blocks. Now we're going to get a temporary block on this side, put a hopper facing into there, and then a temporary block over here, and a hopper facing into this temporary block. You can break these temporary blocks. Now on top of these redstone torches, we can put some hoppers facing into the other hoppers, so we're kind of making sort of a hopper clock. Now shift click some blocks into these comparators, so these comparators will be facing into these blocks. Then get your sticky pistons and place them on top. Now get your slime blocks and place them on top of these hoppers, and then on the other side you're going to put honey blocks. So these honey blocks and slime blocks are going to be alternating so that these 2 don't stick to each other. Now put an observer on top of this slime block and also an observer on top of this honey block. So your machine should look a bit like this. So make sure you have all these repeated timings and all these comparators in the right place, all facing in the right direction, and make sure not to miss any of these torches. So now get your pistons and place a piston here and here, then some composters. Now with these composters, you're going to want to fill them up, so you can just get any green sort of items, so moss, or any food based items, so carrots and that sort of stuff, and just put 1 of them inside this composter. So similar to this, So we just want to fill it up one level so that we get a comparator output into this block. Now on top of the pistons, which are over here, we're going to put some blocks, and then we're going to get an observer and face it downwards. This observer will be facing into the piston, which will be pushing these composters. So we're also going to go on the other side and do the same. Now get a comparator and face it in this direction. Now it will be facing in the direction with the observers. Now you also need to put some repeaters here and also here. Now put these repeaters on 4 ticks. Then next to these observers, we're going to put some slabs, and we're going to get our repeaters and place them on these slabs. Now for your comparators, put a block on top of these comparators. Get your repeaters and put them on top of this block. Then get your full blocks and place a full block facing onto this repeater. And then get your redstone torches and place them in. Now you can then put your hoppers in place for the items to drain into this barrel. Then get your observer and face it upwards. And this will be detecting these redstone torches, and they'll be facing upwards. Now on this side where the slime and honey is, you're going to get your blocks and place them on top of these observers. Then get some temporary blocks and place them in, and then some hoppers facing into the temporary blocks. You can break these temporary blocks and face some hoppers again into it, so you're making like a hopper clock. Now put some pistons in place, get your redstone block. Now place a redstone block here and here on top of these hoppers, and then also put some full blocks on top of these redstone blocks. And then the observers on the side, you can just put some blocks next to them, and also some extra blocks on the side. And then put some comparators facing away from this block, and this will be detecting the hoppers. Now place 2 repeaters and put them on 4 ticks. Now place a block facing into this repeater, and also do it on the other side too. Then put some redstone torches on top, and then some observers upwards. Then on top of these observers, place some full blocks, and then put a piston here and here, and then also next to these observers, some pistons there. Then get your observers, face an observer downwards, then go on the other side and face an observer downwards on this side. Now get your composters again, place a composter on top of this observer and this observer. Then you'll need 2 carrots. Now place a carrot inside, and then a carrot inside here as well. This doesn't have to be a carrot, it could be anything that's compostable. Now put a comparator on these top blocks, which will be detecting these composters. And then get your pistons and place them in, facing into these repeaters. Now get your observers and face them away from these pistons. Now get a temporary block and place it next to these observers, and then some extra blocks on this side. You can break your temporary block, and then what you'll need to do is you'll need to put a temporary block again, a piston, and then also another piston on the other side. You can break this temporary block. Now get your activator rail and also powered rail. Now place some powered rail on the piston on this side, and then some activator rail on the other piston. Now make sure it's all alternating, similar to what the slime and honey are. Now facing downwards from these pistons, we're going to place some blocks in, and then get your sticky pistons and place them on top of these observers. And then also get your observers and place them on the ends of these sticky pistons. Now get some barrels and place them on top of these hoppers. You can also get some extra hoppers, and then some additional chests, and put them on top of these hoppers. Now where these hoppers are, put some additional blocks to stop people from stealing from these hoppers. Now next to this barrel, which is going to be your refill station, you're going to put a comparator facing away from the barrel. And you're also going to do this on the other side too. So I'm going to put a comparator there. Now we're going to get a full block, and we're just going to place it just on the edge of this comparator, a bit like this, and also on this comparator too. And then some redstone lamps on the end of this. And this is our refill station, so it will tell you if we've run out of items in the shop. So now next we're going to be making our item filter. So my advice for when making this item filter, to avoid anyone trying to break the system, is to get an anvil and rename the item. So we're going to be using dirt blocks. Now I'm going to put my anvil down. Now I'm going to rename this to something random that no one will ever guess. It will look like an encrypted message. So if I just like tap on my keyboard and make some random letters, we've got like a little message that looks encrypted. So now we're going to be using this as our hopper item. So now we'll open our hopper, which will be detected by this comparator. So now with our random gibberish that we've made, we're going to put some items inside, across, and they shouldn't exit out of this hopper. If they are, then make sure this redstone torch is here, because that's the thing that's stopping any items from entering this hopper. And also make sure your hopper is facing into the comparator. That's an important one which people mess up a lot. Now then put 18 items, so this will be your currency, inside this hopper. And then you'll also repeat this on all of the other hoppers. So now next onto the system here. So this will be how much your items will cost. So you can use either dirt or diamonds or whatever. I'm going to be using dirt blocks. So whatever the price you want for your first shop, you'll put the amount of items that it costs inside this hopper. So this first shop will charge 16 diamonds. So I'm going to put 16 items inside this hopper. Now as you can see, every time you put an item inside, this piston will be powered. That's when you know it's going to be working. Now let's put the next items inside. So now next we're going to move on to the next hoppers. So before you do these hoppers, I advise greatly that you remove these observers just for a second, just while you put the items inside these hoppers, and that will stop this machine from running. So what we're going to do is we're going to now start by putting some items inside here. So this will be how many items the player will get. So if the shop is selling 24 netherite ingots, then you'll put 24 items inside this hopper. So this shop right here will be selling 32 items, and then on the other side this will be selling 16 items. Now as you can see, these comparators should be powered. These repeaters should also be powered, and this redstone torch should be off. So now we're going to be re-putting the observers in place, and nothing should happen. Now next we'll be putting in our stock. So now what we're going to do is, when we're stocking up the machine, we're going to put one item inside this hopper, and then the rest of the items will be inside this barrel. Now you have to do this for all of your stock, and unless you're changing the item, you won't have to do this ever again. So when you're restocking, what you can do is you can just put items inside, and you shouldn't have to think about this hopper item unless it goes missing for some reason. Now if you've got a lot of stock, you can end up putting all the stock inside this chest as well, especially for unstackable items. If you're selling a lot of them, you can always use this chest space at the top. So now make sure to leave a comment down below if you think the machine isn't working, or if your machine's broken. Now if you need help with your machine, then make sure to join my Discord server, because I'll be able to help you there, or even my mods will. A lot of my mods are quite helpful and quite active on my server, so they'll be able to help you as well as I will as well, depending on if I'm online or not. Now if you also just want a place to chat, or meet other technical Minecraft players or Redstone players, or even just other types of players you'd like to play survival mode or servers, you can always join my Discord server. There's quite a lot of them there. So now if you need an iron farm or a villager breeder, and you don't already have one in your survival world, or even you don't know what they are, then make sure to click the videos on the side, because I'll be able to show you what they are and how to build them. Like if you don't have a villager breeder, then you're kind of missing out a lot, because villager breeders are OP, and also iron farms too. So if you want to see them, then make sure to check them out. And I'll see you in the next video if you're going to watch any more of my videos, and goodbye.